Hi, I'm Kathy Mills from Short Film Edits, and I'm here with Jessica Holmlund for an interview today. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. How are you, Kathy?
I'm good, thank you. Could we start this interview with you letting us know a little bit about you?
Yep, so I am an actor based in Sydney. I was born in the Northern Rivers, so up in Lismore, which is sort of like northern New South Wales, and I moved here for acting and to study at university. So I'm based in Sydney now, and I've been doing a lot of traveling overseas for acting work.
Oh, cool. Where have you traveled?
So I've done theatre in New Zealand. That was my first trip overseas, actually. I went with a comedy act called Superwog. I love comedy. I'm like a big comedy fan, even though I hardly ever get cast in comedy. Come on.
Come on, it's
And
time.
I've been traveling to Southeast Asia a lot, mostly China for vertical and short dramas.
Oh, lovely. Do you like traveling?
I love traveling.
Yeah.
I don't like plane rides. I'm a
Mm,
I'm a real plane ride. I have like a bit of a phobia of heights and being kind of in a box. But when I get off, I always have a blast. I'm a real like, how much can I fit into this day? I know I've got to, do some acting work and be on a film, but can I sneak off to see, this ancient wonder or something? So that's usually
yeah.
me when I'm traveling.
See, I'm like that with boats or ships. I'll take a
Mm.
plane over a ship.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I get seasick. So,
Oh, I get that. Yeah. Happens to
yeah.
me too.
Oh, it's not nice, but I'll stick with planes.
Fair
Okay.
enough.
All right. Um, I see you have a lot of creative talents, including like music, acting, writing, and sketching. Do you think all these complement each other?
Um, Music, acting, writing, and sketching. I would say more so the writing and sketching. Um, I don't know what got me into writing. Um, I guess because I always wanted to do more comedy related stuff. Like I've said, I'm a huge comedy fan, but I don't tend to get cast in comedy. I think maybe I don't have a very funny face. Um, and so I started writing comedy because I thought, well, this is a way for me to sort of tickle that comedy bone. I'm going to write sketches, and I grew up on things like a bit of Fry and Laurie and lots of funny kind of sketch shows. I don't know if you've watched any of that. There's also Mitchell and Webb. I'm a big fan of them. Mostly British comedy because my dad's British. And so I thought I can do this. I can write these. And so I did a bit of sketching for a while. And that actually led into editing. So I actually had to edit my own sketches. And I'd say that would be the most useful thing that I've done for acting so far, is actually getting into the editing room and trying to cut clips together and trying to cut shots together. And then you learn as an actor, you're, oh, wait, this is not going to cut together. I better not do that. Right. And you also know if you make a mistake, I better give them something, so they can cut that together. And it just helped me in a way that I never would have imagined. Um, so now I understand when they're trying to do pickup shots and why they're trying to do certain shots, how those two things are going to fit together. And I would say that actually studying a little bit of editing will probably be one of the most valuable things that an actor could do. And if the editor loves you, if you, do shots that are easy to cut together, I'd say that that always pays off because they'll make you look good.
Yes, yes. I find that editing, like you said, is a huge part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
I've dabbled in some editing.
Mhm.
Just recently, I was doing like a little tiny, I mean, I couldn't do it because I'm not up there yet in the whole editing world, but I gave it a shot. But
What do you
putting,
use?
pardon?
What program did you use?
I just use CapCut at the moment because that's
Oh
all
yeah.
I have. But I do know that there are some better ones out there. But I use CapCut for the interviews as well. And even doing the interviews, I'm like, oh, don't use as many hand movements because then I can't cut that there and, things like that. So I'm
Mm.
learning by editing as well. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
sound as well. Sound had me crying a few times in the editing room.
Oh,
You're like, oh, I cut right over that person's lines. That noise cut over me. I should have just paused. And I hear that as an actor now, and I
yeah.
just stop and I'm like, all right, continue.
It's a
Um,
learning process.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Music I'll briefly touch on. I use music to get into character a lot.
Yeah.
I will often have a playlist that is just for a specific character. I had one for Ava.
Yep.
The style of the music was sort of, I would say, if I was going to use a couple of words, I would say sort of like a villainous style of music, but also songs about the sort of ambitions that I thought that that character had that sort of led to her behaving that way, which was mainly desire for power and money. So I had a lot of
Yeah.
songs about those sort of things, and I would listen to that playlist every day when I drove to Penrith, which is about an hour drive from my place, sometimes at about
Yeah.
4 in the morning. And
Oh.
that's what got me into that. Um, I would say on the other side, my own personal music, I sing, I play the piano and I play the harp, would be sort of more like a come down kind of thing for me, like relaxing at the end of the day. Sort of like almost like just a bit of like a relaxation thing rather than
Yeah.
a direct help for my acting.
Well, that's good. Well, it's direct. Yeah, it's for more like a life comfort rather than a work comfort.
Yeah, I've had some
Yeah.
stressful times where I've gone to my harp and then felt, 100% better.
Yeah, I get that. I've got my editing for that because I do photo edits as well. So whenever I'm
Oh,
feeling
beautiful.
stressed or anything like that, I go to my photo edits, just put some headphones on, do an edit,
Yeah,
and then I'm back. So
yeah,
yeah. Okay.
definitely understand that.
Yes. When preparing for roles, what's something that helps you step into the character's world?
Number one thing is costume.
Yeah.
I've already touched briefly on music, creating a
Yes.
playlist for the character, but the costume is unlike anything else. And sometimes it's a little sad for me that I don't get to put the costume on for verticals usually until the first day. Sometimes
Mm,
you'll do a costume day um, the day before or a couple of days before the first day, but often you don't know which costume's going to go with which scene yet.
yeah.
But always it is for me stepping into that costume. Um, that is, then it clicks. I've had a couple of sets where I've stepped into the costume and I haven't had a chance to see myself in the mirror, which might sound like a vanity thing, but it's so important for me even just to get a quick glance in a reflection on
Yeah.
something and then I can see, oh, there she is. There's
Yeah.
Ava. And that visual cue just sort of clicks me in. I'm not even sure if I know how to explain it. It's a combination of how I see the character and obviously the director has approved this costume. That's how they see the character, and those two things come together as soon as I put that costume on. So for
Yeah.
me, that's the most valuable thing. Doesn't include my own prep work.
I can see how looking at yourself in the mirror definitely would help you because you need to know what you look like. You need to know, where you want to move or where the, like, say it's a dress, you need to know where that dress will go, and you need to see that. And yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that.
Like, oh, I've had a couple of costumes where I've thought, wouldn't want to bend down in this one. That's also useful to know. you know,
Yeah.
might guide
Yeah.
the way that you sit in a chair or something. Um, but yeah, also, oh, I've got these amazing gloves they've put on. Oh, I can use those, for this scene. I can do something interesting with them. I can draw attention to them. I can grab hold of a character's tie or something, and that's going to sort of, show these off. Yeah, it's really important for me to see. And sometimes you're being hurried along, and I'm like, I've just got to have the quickest look at what I'm wearing because
Yeah.
everything's always so fast paced.
And some of these outfits are incredible.
They are unreal.
Yeah.
I'm always excited to see what I'm going to be wearing.
Yeah. Especially with the like fantasy roles and things like that. There's some such
Yeah,
good outfits. Yeah.
100% agreed. I love fantasy. It's what got me into acting, actually.
Oh, good. Okay. Um, what's your process for making an accent feel more natural?
Um, I'm a big believer in YouTubing accents.
Okay.
I do have a site that I use that will it'll go through, it's called Accent Help, and so you can download accent packs and go through them, and you work with someone who will go through all the different sounds with you. And that's sort of like the first step of the process. After that, it's okay, who has this accent? Sometimes I'll chat GPT that. I remember I had to do a little girl, kind of like a posh little girl accent for a theatre show that I did called The Importance of Being Earnest, which is one of my favorite things I've done so far. And it's a little girl voice, and she's very posh and sort of very British. And I can't really do it right now. I sort of can. And I remember ChatGPT told me, "Oh, you're going to want to listen to Sarah Brightman, um, she's a bit out of the she's not as popular these days as she used to be, but she has that little girl soft voice, and that was it. I listened to hours and hours of her before every show because it was a theatre production, and then I just snapped into it. And so I find finding that person that has your voice. Sometimes it's a combination of people. You know,
Mm.
this person's sort of tone, and then this person's sort of like, on the consonant. Some people have a really kind of airy consonant sort of way that they sound. I don't know if I'm explaining this right. But yeah, sometimes it ends up being like three people's voices and hours and hours of listening to people. Honestly, I think some of the content that I must be absorbing without realizing it.
Yeah, exactly. You're learning so much by
Sarah
doing
Brightman
those
just
things.
talking to people in interviews and yes, I'd say YouTube, find the person that has the voice or persons, and then day before or a couple of days before, I will just stay in that accent
Yeah.
until it feels comfortable. Yeah.
Oh, good. All right. As someone who writes and acts, do you see yourself stepping behind the camera more?
I do, and I'm always being pushed to do more writing. I've written I've written a comedy web series. I've written quite a few sketches, but I find I get sort of stuck with moving forward into the next part of the process, which is finding a team. Um, and I would love to do more writing, and I think if you can write yourself into things, that will also kind of help you do more roles. It sounds a bit self-centered, but I'm much better at writing for other people.
Yeah.
I usually end up, I've written something and then my friend will come to me and say, okay, but like, what role are you playing in this? I didn't even think about that, you know? So I don't know why that is. I think it's probably because I write a lot of comedy and I still feel like comedy is a bit of a kind of a male zone, which is a really
Mm,
interesting thing. And because I grew up watching a lot of comedy and a lot of guys, I find that the most interesting roles in comedy still go to men.
yeah.
It's just, I don't know why that is. It kind of is. They occupy this sort of neutral comedic space, and you can kind of put guys in there and they'll be funny. But as soon as you introduce a woman, a lot of things come into play. The sort of gender thing comes into play. There's a bit of an imbalance. And so I find a lot of the time I'm writing comedy for men. Um,
Maybe you can
uh,
change that. You can be the change.
I recently I wrote and it's really easy when you write comedy as well to end up with negative stereotypes, and I think that's part of it as well. And it's okay to do that for men, but as soon as you start putting women into those negative stereotypes that are hilarious, they're really funny. You
Yeah.
think, oh no, I've just made another diva, I've just made another Instagram influencer to make fun of. Um, so it's harder. I think it's harder to write good, funny women,
Yeah.
and that's something that I'm really keen to build on, actually. I love
Yeah. I
like
guess
Tina
it would.
Fey and Amy Poehler.
Oh, yeah. I guess
They've
it would
done it.
depend on the audience. Like you need the right type of audience for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, I definitely want to do more writing.
Yes. Yes. Writing is good. I wish that I could write. I would love to do reviews for the verticals and things like that, but my writing
Mm.
just isn't. The review
Five
pages,
minutes a
they're
day is what
great.
I say. 5 minutes a day.
Yeah. That's okay. That's good. I'll stick to the editing. All right. I saw that you just took on your darkest villain role yet. Are you able to give us some details on that without giving away the story?
Yes, I think so. Um, Ava. I just did a character called Ava, and my husband is an American hero. Um, and when I read the script, I thought, oh, I wonder if they've cast me correctly. I have been doing little bits of villain roles here and there, and I think once I got given my first one and showed that I could do it, I started to get more. But I've never thought that I'm particularly villainous looking. I've always thought actually that I had kind of a bit of a kind of cutesy face, so I've been surprised.
Okay.
When I read this script, I thought, oh my God, how am I going to justify this character's actions? Because I never want to just play a villain in a very two-dimensional way. She's just going to walk in and be evil and she's a horrible person. I always want to have a justification for why they act the way that they do. Otherwise, you've got a bland villain. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to justify this woman? There's quite a few violent scenes. We had weapons. We had we had an armor on set because we had weapons. And quite a few times that I am using those weapons or threatening someone with those weapons. And so I had to work, I think, harder than I've worked ever on a villain to make sure that I actually justified those incredibly horrific actions without giving the story away. Yeah, there was many, many times that I was about to, cut or kill this lady, and someone would come in and I would be stopped by something at the last minute. And that is what to me made her the most villainous, was that she went to violence quite quickly. She would go from almost sort of like a poker face to just like completely like off the handles rage, and it would take like maybe a few words to trigger her. So I had to work really hard on those triggers. Like, okay, these 3 words mean this to me, so I'm going to fly off the handle immediately. And I think that's why she was the darkest, because she was so unpredictable and so violent. And that's so far from who I am as a person.
Yeah.
So that's why she's the darkest. And yeah, she was prepared to kill a lot of people on her way to the top. And I've never had that in a villain ever. Maybe 1 or 2 people killed to get to the top, maybe turning off the oxygen at the hospital bed or something, but never actually I'm going to cut someone open and kind of, yeah, gut them or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
That must have been an amazing learning experience for you, though.
Oh, so much energy required. I never realized to keep someone that intense, uh, to keep her believable, you have to be so energetic at all times. That's what I would
Yeah.
say about villains. You can't relax for a second.
You got to stay in character.
Oh, you got to keep the intensity
Yeah.
up here
Yeah. Oh, I
24/7.
can't wait to see that now.
Oh, I can't wait to watch it.
Yes.